Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, here I am. Kevin, thanks for the save. I started the show and I had my mic on mute. So you didn't hear any of the incredibly ingenious stuff I just said? Damn! Well, I might have to backtrack a bit. Anyway, I was welcoming you to this particular okay. Okay. Yes, I'm unmuted, right? You can hear me. As far as I know, you can hear me. Yeah. Okay. So, busy week. I mean, ridiculously busy week. I'm sitting here waiting, and maybe one of you can help me here. Let me know when the Supreme Court, which is apparently going to tell us, this will be a big shock, huh? What their ruling is in the Colorado Supreme Court, whether to let Trump on the ballot. We know where they're going. So it's not going to be shocking. It's just that they're going to put it out today, understandably, I guess, a day before tomorrow, which is Super Tuesday. And Super Tuesday, as we know, is the date when a whole ton of Americans get an opportunity to to decide. Oh my gosh, Kevin's calling. Kevin, I'm on. I'm not. Yeah, my mic's on. You don't? Hey, anybody out there, do you hear? It says I have viewers here. Anybody hearing me right now having a one-way conversation with Kevin? The mic's on. What the fuck? It says I have 46 concurrent viewers. Wait a minute. You are on. I am hearing you. Intro on, but no Lynn yet. Loud and clear. Deborah. All right, Kevin, get off. Then I'm on a show. Okay, they do. Bye. Okay, sorry guys. I don't know what's going on. We had some. This is me on my own, and I'm sorry for all of that. I made the first mistake of not unmuting my microphone, which is one of the many things I have to do. And Kevin, my wondrous producer, is in the car listening, and he couldn't hear me. And he was texting me, unmute your mic, unmute your mic, unmute your mic. And I did, and he still couldn't hear me. And so he called, you maybe heard that conversation. So I don't know. I suspect I don't know what's going on, but I see a whole bunch of you, and thank you so much on my live chat telling me you can hear me. God. Well, guys, I mean, this is the way it's going to be. You got a technomoron here in the driver's seat. I even had trouble getting this computer up and running. I've already been on the phone with Kevin this morning. So, whatever. Anyway, busy day. Hey, if any of you ever hear what the Supreme Court's decided, not much, totally unsurprisingly, let me know, because I've got so many screens here, I can't be looking for something else, breaking. But the court is supposed to let us know in its infinite wisdom what it's decided, even though, as I said, I think we already know. Other news this week, my God. So Nikki Haley finally won one. That was the huge District of Columbia primary, which she took by quite a bit, 63% to Trump's 33%. Just liking those numbers. She also picked up endorsements from 2 Republican senators. And why am I not surprised that they're 2 women? Because there's no men, or next to no Republican men, who seem to have the balls to infuriate Der Fuhrer, right? Oh, dang it. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do too much, and I'll stop. Yeah, thank you. That's what I thought. I was trying to get the New York Times thing. Yes, they have ruled that he will remain on the ballot. My, are you as shocked as I? Okay, so there's that. Then there's tomorrow, Super Tuesday, and there's 15 states that will be choosing who they want to represent them. We know Biden will win in the Democratic side, and we know Trump will win on the Republican. And in fact, tomorrow he could end up with so many of the Republican delegates that he will virtually lock up the nomination. On Friday, though, this soon-to-be nominee of the Republican Party has to post a bond to cover the $84 million he has been ordered to pay E. Jean Carroll. He's still trying to weasel out of that. And of course, that is nowhere near the 400, God knows what, close to 500 million that he has to pay in the civil fraud case against him. And that's coming up as well. And this is the guy that the Republicans are overwhelmingly choosing to be the president of the United States. I rest my case as to the fact that the Republican Party is a clear and present danger to us. It's a party of traitors now. It's a party of people who have no problem with a despot at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And, actually, Trump is having a guest at Mar-a-Lago also this week. And he is the autocrat who heads Hungary, also a pal of Putin's. And I guess he's getting lessons in autocracy, how to be a despot from a guy who's already gotten there. That the Republican nominee, putative nominee, chooses to entertain as he heads into this campaign. An authoritarian despot in a country that purports to be a democracy has sort of the all of the hallmarks of a democracy, elections and such. Even Russia has elections and stuff. But where there is no real individual liberty. Meanwhile, of course, the House of Representatives is totally stymied and the government could shut down, but it probably won't. Thursday, the president will give the State of the Union address. And it's really hard to imagine all of what is happening. Good God. I must say, I've read a number of things about how Biden would be well advised to not do a normal State of the Union address, which, as you know, is an endless, blindingly boring, ticking off laundry lists of everything that's been done, promises of everything that will be done, all of that, with those in attendance howling, standing up, down, up, down, up, down. It should not be that anymore. First of all, I forgot, where did I read this? Somebody said it should be shorter. Oh, wait, I know where I got it, and I have it right here with me. And this is, it's smart, too. It's just totally smart. Oh, it was the editorial board of the Washington Post saying, don't screw up this moment. Rethink it. You've got the bully pulpit. You've got a large audience. And he needs to be strong as hell. They suggest he look back at a president who was about as popular as Biden at this point in his presidency, and that would be Harry Truman. And as Truman appeared for his State of the Union address in front of, again, Republican-controlled do-nothing Congress, he said this. This is Harry Truman, plain speaker from Missouri. Twice within our generation, world wars have taught us that we cannot isolate ourselves from the rest of the world. We have learned that the loss of freedom in any area of the world means a loss of freedom to ourselves, that the loss of independence by a nation, any nation, adds directly to the insecurity of the United States. Could Biden not lift that right up because of where the Republicans are now, refusing to give aid to Ukraine and being Putin's puppets? The editorial board also said something that I think we'd be well advised to keep in mind. Far from representing a silent majority, Trump's Republican Party is simply reflecting the thinking of a noisy minority. Yeah? They're not the silent majority. I think the WP editorial board got it right. They're the noisy minority. Unfortunately, Biden tends to go long in these things, and unfortunately, it appears that the speech is pretty much, written, and somebody has suggested that it's the same old, and that's too bad. Too bad. Joe, you could keep it short, punchy, especially since you're an old man. Make it short, punchy, strong. Damn it. Which, of course, brings us to this god-awful, and I was not even going to talk about it, this latest New York Times poll, which suggests that we live in a country that has lost its effing mind. If you look at the responses to this poll, we might as well pack it up. Now, obviously, I don't think that's the case. I think these polls are crap, especially given that it's 8 months until the election, where people have to actually vote for one or the other. But whoa, I don't want to bother you with too much of it because it's just too depressing. Hang on while I find it here. And then there was more today. Front page, New York Times, about how Biden's toast. Warning lights flashing. The vast majority of Americans say he's too old, he's weak. And these are the people who think that Trump, because he's loud and big and abusive, is strong? That's their idea of strength? Talk about toxic masculinity. Talk about cartoon versions of what strength is. You know, one of the strongest men I ever knew in my life, and I mean this, Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. He had the strength of character, quiet spoken, strong as hell, would not back down from anybody or thing. In fact, took on the strongest people in the world and made them mush. Yeah, Fred Rogers in his cardigan and his soft little voice. He was more a man than bully boy Trump. So his latest damn poll says that he's behind Trump by 5 percentage points in a survey of registered voters, and that more than twice as many voters. This is the part where my hair caught on fire. I'm sorry. More than twice as many American voters who were polled believe Biden's policies have personally hurt them as believe his policies have helped them. What harm, I wonder? How have they been harmed? How have they been harmed by this administration? And the share of voters who strongly disapprove of Biden's handling of his job has reached 47%, higher than this poll at any time in his presidency. People who voted for Donald Trump Last time around, 97% of them say they'll vote for him again. Biden? Only 83% of people who voted for Biden say they'll vote for him again. He's weak with working class voters of color. Oh my God. On and on. There was not a positive note in the entire thing. And I realized that I cannot comprehend. I don't know, none of you should be listening to me because I sit here with my jaw dropped, unhinged, and incredulous, not to mention terrified. So, I heard a joke. I never tell jokes. I heard a joke, it seems apropos. Okay? So, bear with me while I tell you this joke. It's about a man and a woman seated next to each other on an airplane. Okay, here it goes. A Trump supporter was seated next to an older woman on an airplane, and he turned to her and said, "Do you want to talk? Flights go quicker if you strike up a conversation with your fellow traveler." The old woman, who had just started to read her book, replied to the total stranger, "Well, what do you want to talk about?" "Oh, I don't know," said the man. "Maybe how about they stole the election in 2020 and Donald Trump should be president?" "Okay," said the woman. "Those could be interesting topics, but can I ask you a question first?" "Sure," says the guy. She says, "A horse, a cow, and a deer all eat the same stuff relatively. They eat grass. Yet a deer excretes little pellets, while a cow turns out a flat patty. But a horse produces clumps. Now, why do you suppose that is?" The man, who was obviously visually surprised by the old woman's question, said, "Geez, I have no idea." To which the woman replied, "Well, so why do you feel qualified to discuss politics when you don't know shit?" Okay, I know, slightly cheap shot, but it made me laugh. Oh, something else that made me just laugh, made me laugh and laugh and laugh. It was from the Metropolitan, that New York Times Sunday little bit where they do the Metropolitan Diary and people write in just, things that have happened to them as they wander around New York City. Interactions, usually, with other people. This one I found just totally wonderful, wonderful. And I'm going to share it with you. I was in the habit of taking walks in Carl Schurz Park on early summer mornings when the sun casts a lovely orange glow over the East River. My walk was identical every day. What also became routine was seeing the same old man sitting on the same bench each morning. He held a flat tweed cap in his hands, always gazing wistfully out onto the water. One morning, I decided to talk to him. "Hello," I said, approaching the bench where he was sitting. He looked up. "Oh, how do you do?" he said. "I don't mean to bother you," I said, "but I see you here every day." "Is that right?" he said. "And if you don't mind me asking, I was curious about why you sat on this same bench." He turned away with a deep sigh. "My wife and I used to sit on this bench together for 51 years, he said. "Oh," I said, feeling badly, I'm sorry." And then he continued, "And for some bizarre reason, she likes to sit over there now," as he gestured toward a woman 20 feet to the left of us. I so love that. It's such a bait and switch. It is such a, we all know. What a sad say. Actually, it's sadder than she died. It's sadder. She abandoned him to sit on another bench, and yet there they are every day. Anyway, I loved that, and I thought it might make you smile too. Oh God, guys. Forgive me. Forgive me. Oh, wait, I got to do some more good news because it's just this Caitlin Clark. God almighty. You know who I'm talking about? You got to know this person, this kid, this extraordinary basketball player who every time she's playing, stadiums, standing room only. How have things changed? It's amazing that a woman in basketball can have that kind of impact. And as you probably heard, she scored her 3,668th point yesterday, and in a game against Ohio State, and surpassed Pete Maravich for the most points ever scored in an NCAA Division I history for any player, male or female. She's amazing. And Pete Maravich's son has said that the comparison isn't really apt. And I thought, oh, come on. And then he showed that it really isn't. Here's some key differences. Pete Maravich was not allowed to suit up on Louisiana State's varsity team as a freshman. So his total reflects only 3 seasons. He played in an era without a shot clock and without 3-pointers. He appeared in 83 games altogether compared to her 130 games. So in that regard, right, if Maravich had had a freshman season to play and could do 3-pointers, God knows how many points he would have scored. But that's, I guess, not the way it's going to work, and it doesn't take anything away from her. And in fact, Maravich's son went on to say that she is obviously a generational talent. And he said, I know my dad would have felt the same. He said, I think he would have been a big fan of hers. And he said, scoring records aside, in many ways, they're really peers who were just born 50 years apart. He even said, she looks like she could be my dad's sister. She's lanky, she's got the dark eyes. Anyway, there's that. Which made me also happy. And I'm blowing my happy stuff too soon. Have I forgotten something? Mondays, I think, what the hell really happened on Thursday afternoon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I mean, it's been, I don't know. We are really in for some tough times, guys. Tough times. Hunter Biden. Whoa. I got to tell you, he's met with the kangaroo court Republicans trying just desperately to use him to get to his dad so they can impeach him. Meanwhile, of course, they keep making fools, absolute fools of themselves. Do you remember when this awful human, Elise Stefanik, when she spoke, when this guy, Vladimir Smirnov, testified before him and said he had the goods. He actually knew where $5 million had changed hands in a bribe. That's it. And Elise Stefanik, New York Republican, said, this is the biggest political corruption scandal, not only in my lifetime, but I would say in the past 100 years. Oh, yeah? I wonder what she's saying now that when Smirnov is in jail, and so are some of the others whose testimony the Republicans eagerly lapped up. Yeah, it might be, in fact, the biggest political corruption in United States history in the last 100 years, but not in the way she sees it. Rather, because the Republicans are doing this in the most cynical, outrageously phony way. I mean, the lies, this is the scandal. Them, not Hunter Biden. So their star witness, this Smirnov, has been indicted for making it all up. And here's the real scandal, for essentially working for Vladimir Putin. He was working with Russian intelligence in their ongoing effort to maintain control of the Republican Party. One of their other witnesses is missing. Did you know that? Missing. Gal Luft. He'd been charged in a sealed indictment with arms trafficking and illegal lobbying work for China. And he, folks, took off and he's on the lam. That was another one of the Republicans' key witnesses in their outrageous effort to impeach Joe Biden on trumped up charges. They've also relied on one of Hunter Biden's former business partners, who is now sitting in prison for defrauding a Native American tribe, and also some kind of another convicted fraudster who's in jail, who House investigators went to visit last week to see if he had any more stuff. And he's sitting in a prison in Alabama. They'll take dirt from any source they can get it. So perhaps you saw, I mean, because this is a hearing, so there are Democrats on the committee as well. They're in a minority. They have no control of this kangaroo court, but they do what they can do. And I must say this: some of them use the opportunity, I think, very well. Eric Swalwell is one, Democrat from California. So, with Hunter Biden there in the chair, Swallow's turn to question him. And here's the back and forth if you hadn't seen it. Swalwell: at any time when your father was in government, prior to the presidency or before, did he ever operate a hotel? Biden says, no. No, he's never operated a hotel. Swalwell says, so he's never operated a hotel where foreign nationals spent millions of dollars at that hotel while he was in office? Biden says, no, he hasn't. Swalwell: well, did your father ever employ in the Oval Office any direct family member to also work in the Oval Office? Biden says, my father's never employed any direct family members, to my knowledge. Swalwell: then, well, while your father was president, did anyone in the family receive 41 trademarks from China? That would be Biden said, no. Swalwell: as president and the leader of the party, has your father ever tried to install as the chairperson of the party a daughter-in-law or anyone else in the family? Biden says, no, and I don't think that anyone in my family would be crazy enough to want to be the chairperson of the DNC. Swalwell: well then, has your father ever in his time as an adult been fined $355 million by any state that he had worked in? Biden says, no, he has not, thank God. Swalwell: then, anyone in your family ever strike a multi-billion-dollar deal with the Saudi government while your father was in office? No, says Biden. And Swalwell turns to the chair and says, that's all I've got. Yeah. We're living in a nightmare. We're living in a nightmare. Bree, I need to have you explain that to me. Bree is listening on YouTube, and he says people need to subscribe to the show. I think if I have 100 more subscribers, that means something. What? I'm not sure, but I think Bree knows. So listen, here's what happens when somebody who's been in media for a million years, like me, uh, is living in a new media reality and universe that she really doesn't comprehend. I don't know how this stuff works, as I have often said. It's totally different. It's why journalism as we know it has disappeared practically, is on death's door. It's it's why in many ways you can see the trajectory even in my career. I went from broadcast television to cable television to AM radio. AM radio is now dead. Broadcast television is on its last legs. So I'm on the internet now, but I've never bothered to do the things that if I were 40 years younger, I would definitely be doing, right? Marketing it, monetizing it, never done it. And I do think there is some magic thing that if I hit 2,000 subscribers, and I guess I'm about 100 away, that stuff, maybe it makes me a little bit more out there. So if you haven't subscribed, if you're not listening there, uh, do me a favor and do that, I think. And Bree, let me know why. Or somebody, let me know why. I am just a lost little sheep. I really. Uh, hey, I saw something weird, and if you've gotten into sort of the conspiracy theory mindset, which, by the way, I'm beginning to understand, simply because when the world becomes incomprehensible to you, I guess it's only human to start ferreting around for explanations that can help you feel like there's some sense to what's going on. This is one of the reasons there's a huge rise in antisemitism, by the way, because throughout human history, when things are scary or people can't figure out what the hell's going on, the conspiracy theory that has always proved to be wonderfully useful is it's the Jews. Yeah, it is. That is what happens. I read a piece in the Atlantic this morning uh, about how the golden age for American Jews, which I was lucky to be born into, um, is ending, as all golden ages for Jews in any country end. And I think Jewish Americans are reeling now uh, because we thought we'd found a forever home. And it's increasingly looking like, no, I'm sorry. And in that regard, one of the things that was said, and I just want to pass this on, if the Jews can do you any favors, I think it's not a bad idea to look at Jews as the canary in the coal mine. And you're aware of that metaphor. If the canary like goes down, then it means that you, a non-canary, are also probably in danger. So I won't bore you with piling up this, that, and that, and this proof. I recommend the article to you as simply, and it's long, as a long sort of historic historical documentation. But for Jews, I grew up in a family, my grandparents were immigrants. It's not unusual. And it was just a classic American story. And I remember often my father and then my brother also picking up on that, saying that, man, we are so lucky. Of all the Jews who ever lived in this world, are we lucky? We're born into this country that has allowed us to live within it, not separate, lived within it, to achieve success in any field, to be accepted. We're some of the luckiest Jews alive, and we knew it. It's just that we never figured that, as it always happens, that golden age would end. Here's just one paragraph from this guy's story toward the end, his piece. The golden age is not on some uninterrupted rise. I keep losing it. God dang it. Hang on. Because I'm doing this as a service to you non-Jews. Because we Jews are feeling plenty nervous again. It's sort of in the blood. We know when to feel nervous. He says the case for pessimism right now is truly convincing. The forces arrayed against Jews on the right and on the left are far more powerful than they were 50 years ago. The surge of antisemitism is a symptom of the decay of democratic habits, and it is a leading indicator of rising authoritarianism. If you know history, when anti-Semitism takes hold and the conspiracy theories about Jews harden into conventional wisdom, creating violence in thought and then in action, that society that holds its Jews at arm's length is likely to be more intent on hunting down scapegoats than addressing underlying defects. Although it is hardly an iron law of history, such societies are prone to decline. England expelled its Jews in 1290 and entered a long, dark age. Tsarist Russia limped toward revolution and dissolution after the pogroms of the 1880s, when the Jews, my grandparents included, ran for their lives. And he says if America persists on its current course, it would be the end of the golden age, not just for the Jews here, but for this country that nurtured them. Just saying. Canaries in the coal mine. Glad to be of service. Reminded of that first they came for, then they came for. And the Republican Party, as I started the show, is about to state with absolute clarity that they now favor autocracy, thuggery, intimidation, and fear, rather than democracy. I mean, there's a reason that the Republicans have chosen a Jew as the biggest boogeyman. You know who I'm talking about? George Soros. You don't even have to, all they have to do is George Soros. And everybody understands what is being said. It's the old thing, Jews, Jew money, rich Jews. It was that, and that is an idea that is put out there by Donald Trump and warmly embraced by his followers. It was the conspiracy theory, a lie, that George Soros was funding a caravan of rapists and killers to come to this country through a Jewish organization that prompted Richard Bowers, sitting here in Pittsburgh, PA, to do what he did. I don't know, guys. And increasingly, I mean, I was always afraid to sort of talk about this kind of stuff because if you're a Jew, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If we talk about it, it's Jews complaining all the time. Look, they got all the money and they complain like they're somehow powerless. You know how much of the world's population is Jewish? Seriously. It's not even 1%. It's not even half of 1%. It's not even 0.4%. And it's not 0.3. The number of Jews in the world is 0.2. And yet, somehow, I don't know how myself, and I'm one of them, and I don't know how, nobody told me. How much power? It can never be through hard work. No, it can't. It has to be through some nefarious means. I remember Charlottesville when I first heard, I had never ever heard that thing. The Jews will not replace us. The Jews will not replace us. And I thought, what? What the hell does that mean? I mean, there's not enough Jews to replace you. What are you talking about? The Jews will. And that was my first lesson in how the Jews are said to be behind the destruction of the white race. And what's funny is that the left insists because we are white, we're evil. I'm waiting for some of these lefties to hand over their houses to Native Americans. Seriously, will you just get out and give it back? I'm sorry, I'm on a rant. It was hell waking up and reading this thing. It was just hell. You heard about this former congressman, a Democrat, pretty liberal guy. His name is McDermott. And he now he lives pretty much in France. He doesn't even speak French. He just thought, I got to get the hell out of here. um, and he suggests, quite seriously, that if people have the means, that they should maybe be looking for at least a safe house somewhere. The people he's talking to are people, I guess, like me, are Jews, are members of media, are judges and lawyers who took the wrong cases. Anybody who is in position to be on Donald Trump's list of who he's going to take revenge upon. Because given the thugocracy he has created, it is quite conceivable. Ask Paul Pelosi, ask others, that we will start seeing people harmed and killed. And McDermott thinks this is absolutely a wise thing to do. Now, I have told you that years ago, I did, with a sister-in-law, go looking in Canada for a possible place where maybe our family could run if we had to. And then we got a little complacent. And Robert Reich, seeing McDermott's position, said this: I never thought that this nation would get to a point where critics and opponents of a potential United States president would begin to wonder whether to leave the country to keep themselves and their families safe. Think about that. I mean, that's standard for, people living in Russia or North Korea or maybe Hungary, but in America? And I don't think you have to be a crazy person to ask, is the United States now in a situation so dangerous, or if it makes you feel better, say potentially dangerous, that you would be foolish if you didn't have a backup plan? Is it hyperbole to imagine the country sliding into authoritarian rule that would unleash violence, retribution, and repression? The mere fact that this question is being posed is itself a frightening commentary of where we are and possibly where we're heading. And speaking again as a Jew who knows my history, I think Jews would be well advised to take this suggestion seriously. We've learned that to engage in wishful thinking and to believe, oh, that can't happen here, well, we know where that leads. And literally half of that tiny population of Jews in the world was wiped out in a few years by the civilized nation of Germany, aided and abetted by many others. We are at a terrifying point in history. I'm too old to run, but if I were younger and had children, I'd be looking. I would. I really would. And on that happy note, ladies and gentlemen, I am finished for today. Sorry it got so dark, but I just speak what I'm thinking. Okay. So my volume goes up and down a lot. It could be because my voice goes up and down a lot, or if I turn my head a little, I don't know. Guys, we'll figure this out together. We really will. Thank you so much for being there. I truly, truly, truly appreciate it. Have a good day and enjoy this extraordinary day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.